What's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first edition of the Sunday Spin Off. You got the Sunday Spin every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and we're doing the Spin Off, and it's 5 p.m. And Surf's Up, which means we got Rob Brewer in the house, longtime homie. Rob and I go way back to, 1985, I would say. So decades of friendship, and Rob's a wonderful dude. Had him on the Sunday Spin, I think season 3. And after some technical shenanigans on our part, we were actually having to have him on, and we got him on StreamYard today. So super stoked. Rob, my man, how are you, brother?
Good, man. Glenn, how are you? Good to see you.
Doing great, man. Definitely. Shout out from Vinny. He's at ballet lessons right now, so couldn't make, he's watching the show via satellite from the ballet, but wasn't able to make it present, but always giving you shout outs and love, Rob, of course.
Yep. What's up, Vinny? We'll catch you next time, or
oh yeah,
next time Glenn comes out and visit, we'll all get together again. That was nice.
Yeah, that was so much fun, man. That was great times hanging out in the old Poway Park there, just like the old days, huh? Like back when we were 16, 17.
The Tubs, bro. That's what it was.
Tubs. That's the legendary Rob, exactly. And speaking of legendary, you're a legend of the 64, my friend. I've always thought of you that way. Always supported your music and everything that you've done. And more importantly, you're just a killer human being. I want to just say that first and foremost on the Sunday Spinoff. Rob Brewer is a cool dude. And through all the things that he went through with touring the whole world and being super busy with music, he never treated me less than, ever than what I thought I should be treated, and which is pretty low. And no, he's always good to me. And Rob, yeah, just super excited to hang out with you on a Sunday evening in a non-football time, and all that madness is done. So let's get down to some rock and roll, man. That's always rock and roll is like every month, every day, every year. It's not like a football or a baseball. I don't talk about baseball. I'm mad at those people right now. I think you probably are too. Let's get some stuff done so we can play, right? But yeah, man.
I appreciate the kind words, and yeah, let's go.
All right, my brother. So the album Elva. So looking at basically the 4th album by the band Unwritten Law from Poway, California. And you were in the band for what, 19 years? 19?
No, I was in the band from like 1990 till about 2005.
Wow, so
16.
Yeah. Woo, long time.
Yeah.
Wow. And you guys started a slow ascent at the beginning, and you like really picked up steam. And with Elva, like 4th album, off the heels of the Black album, self-titled, which is excellent. And definitely that's when you guys, I feel, during the Black album, you guys started, there was a departure in not as much of the hardcore punk sound, a little bit more of the, harder edged rock and metal and things like that. And then that continued, I believe, with Elva. So like coming into on the heels of that album, before you guys released it, you guys were touring a lot, things like that, Australia. What was kind of going on like right before you guys did the recordings for that record?
For Elva or for the Black one? Yeah, so in 1997, we had gone to Seattle to kind of get out of town and just focus on what was that Black album, the self-titled album that you're talking about. We spent 3 months in Seattle working with Rick Parashar. He produced like Pearl Jam 10 album and some Stone Temple Alice in Chains stuff, I think it was, and Temple of the Dog album. So we went up there, and he had a house and a studio in Seattle outside of downtown. And we stayed up there for 3 months and did that record. But when we got done with touring that record for the next couple of years, Elva became kind of like, there was different parts to the Elva recordings, you know what I mean? Like we started recording it, we got a house in Hollywood. Somebody thought it'd be a good idea if we would like try to do the same thing we did in the suburbs of Seattle in like Sunset, you know, Boulevard and Hollywood. And that was a horrible idea. We partied, we got nothing done for months. And we started writing what would become the Elva album then. We started working with a producer named John Shanks, who's also a Grammy-winning artist. He played with Melissa Etheridge. And he also recently just toured with John Bon Jovi as the replacement for Richie Sambora, which I thought was interesting. But good guitar player, songwriter. He started producing what was the early cuts of the songs that we were writing, which would be on the Elva record eventually. But that album took about 2 years to come out. A lot of turning it into the label and having suggestions made and like taking the album back and doing some re-recording, some studio switches. So kind of a different process than just going up and working with one producer, you know, like we did in Seattle. So that album kind of got pieced together in different segments of different, you know, different producers, engineers, you know, at different times, you know. So to me, it kind of sounds, it's got a diversity in sound a little bit, but you know, being our fourth album, it was the one that got the most radio play for like Seeing Red. So, you know, people think it's the biggest record. I guess it probably would be the largest selling record if people weren't like, you know, pirating it off of the internet back then. So
That was a big thing at that point, right?
Right. During Napster and everything. Yep. So
Definitely trying to find those rare demos and things like that. I remember I saw a bunch of your guys like demos and whatnot, things that were on the internet that, you know, on Napster that were just like, man, these folks don't want this stuff out there. You know, it's like some of the stuff it's not even finished or, you know, I mean, it's all kind of fun to have on your own, but it's not really anything that, you know, the records are definitely the you know, definitive recordings for a lot of that stuff. But yeah, so like 5 or 6 different studios, right, for Elva probably?
yeah, so like we started working with John Shanks, the guitar player that was playing with Bon Jovi. He had a studio and he worked also out of Sunset Sound, which is famous. So that was cool. We got to do some stuff there, which was awesome. I got a story about that. Like we would like do some work and then they have us take a break. And Sunset Sound was like this studio. It was like a horseshoe. And in the center, like little area was this open area. And they had a little basketball court. I was literally out there playing like horse and like one-on-one with the singer from Buckcherry and Art Alexis from Everclear. Like they were both, doing work in the studio at that time. So like we were just hanging out in Hollywood, like doing this record, you know, the demos and, you know, maybe this is going to be the first tracks. We didn't know. And then I don't know why, but somehow somebody decided it would be better off if we'd switch studios and try to work with some different producers. God, I don't even remember this guy's name. It was Josh something. Guy had done like what was that band? He did like a 90s metal band that was popular, and he had some affiliation with Limp Bizkit at the time. I mean, you're talking about like, you know, 99, 2000, around that period of time. So Limp Bizkit was like a thing.
Indeed.
It was all for the nookie. I mean, you know.
Hey.
But so we were working with this guy for a little while in Hollywood, and then we ended up turning the album in a couple of times to Interscope Records, and they kept saying, no, you need to do this and do that and tweak this and tweak that, and we were just like, you know, this sucks.
Oh, labels.
Yeah, and so we ended up working with Miguel, who owned Skunk Records at the time, who was friends with like Brad from Sublime, you know, before he passed away, and like he ended up getting us some studio access, like actually next door to Pennywise, and I think it was Redondo Beach. And we did a bunch of touch-up stuff, and we tweaked a few things and re-recorded some stuff. And eventually we put out Elva, and yeah, it was like probably the Well, it was the most airplay we'd ever gotten for sure, but that's probably the biggest selling record if, like I said, people weren't like pirating music at that time. So,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Wow.
So,
Great stuff, man. Sunday spinoff, chilling with Rob Brewer, my man from the 64. We go way back. And it's kind of
my
a new
parents,
format.
my
We're breaking
parents,
down the Elva album. What?
my mom and dad still live there. Hi, Mom. You
I
probably watch
know,
it.
yeah. They're awesome people.
Sherry watches this kind of stuff, so yeah.
Oh, very cool. Shout out to your parents. They're wonderful people. And your brother's really cool as well. And your whole family, man. Your wife, your kids. Never met them, but I feel like I know them, definitely.
Dude, it's because you haven't come back to San Diego, I feel like, except for like one time in like
I
the
only
last
had,
like
yeah,
20
that
years.
was the first time Rob and I had reunited over the summer was like 14 years. So yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Go back this summer, my brother. Yeah, we'll talk about it more off the air, but yeah, I'll be back in July. So
Well, let's talk about, can we get your social security number and like
let's play some, of course, play some rock and roll too on the way, right? Definitely. But so Rob, like I remember at the time that you guys, I saw you on probably around the same time I saw you on the ESPYs. Was that?
Yeah. I don't know if it was
right?
I don't think it was the ESPYs. It was like this other thing. It wasn't the ESPYs. It was like the action sports.
Oh, right.
Right. So like they were trying to create like a, not the ones for football and baseball and stuff, but like the alternative sports, like extreme whatever and skateboarding and all that. So yeah, dude, that was awesome actually. Except for they jacked the audio up, during the broadcast, but that's another story. But we got to play Seeing Red, which was, the single at the time that did really well on that record. And the door next to us had like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then across the hall was Exhibit, which was special to us, when we did the very first Warped Tour in 1996. There was only 3 bands that didn't have a tour bus. It was us, Lagwagon, and a band called the Alcoholics from Los Angeles. Apparently this is like an underground rap group that had been around for like 15 years at that point. Like people knew, if you knew rap, early on, you knew the Alcoholics, and this guy Exhibit is like on tour with us, and we're like starving. We're all barbecuing together every night besides the catering because everyone's hungry, and like this guy next to me is going, yeah, my name is Exhibit. My solo project's coming out like this summer, you should look out for me and all this, and I'm like, all right, cool, we're like barbecuing, partying, like we're on the Warped Tour, but we all have to drive these vans, and it's like, dude, that schedule can be like, with tour buses, you can travel a lot further between cities, over one night.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to play like during the day and then get in the van and split to make the next show,
Sure.
And so they were doing that too, and like, I remember like, it was us, Lagwagon, and the Alcoholics. Every night we started throwing money in, and everyone would go get food at the store, and we'd have this barbecue. And that eventually became the Warped Tour like barbecue that all the bands do now. That was started by our 3 bands because we were literally starving. Like, we're doing all this driving and traveling, and you play like for a half hour, and then you're just a lot of downtime while you're there. So I remember that being the thing. But yeah. So the next summer I'm watching TV and I'm flipping channels, and I think it was like, I go by BET. Abby. I go by BET, and there's Exhibit in like a UCLA jersey, like rapping in front of this piano, and I'm like, dude, no way. I just like hung out with that dude like last summer, all summer, like, yeah, it's pretty funny. So then we fast forward to these awards. I see Exhibit's name on the door across the hallway, and I'm like, okay, Exhibit's over there. But he had already been doing like Pimp My Ride on MTV. He had already been on the Dr. Dre record, the Chronic 2000 or whatever it was, and like, well, Exhibit's career had exploded, at that point, to the level where I'm not going to go to his door or anything, And we're sitting in the dressing room waiting around, and just, you get to play one song, so you wait to do that. the door flies open and in walks this dude. He's all unwritten law. And it was Exhibit, dude. And it was almost like watching him on television, you know. It was a trip, but he's in our dressing rooms, like, you know. So it was cool to have him like still remember, you know, back when we were all struggling eating barbecue, you know, on the Warped Tour.
Yeah, man.
So,
a long way from the humble days, right?
Yep.
That's incredible. I guess I want to know too if there's any songs that particularly that you really liked playing on, or that you really just enjoyed, like, you know, rocking out live or anything. Were there any particular standout tracks on that record for you personally?
I'm trying to remember because, like I was telling you before we started, I haven't.
I got them all right here, so I can. I got the whole list of songs.
I remember when we were in we had this. Okay, so we got the Hollywood house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Couple of things you should know about the record pertaining to that Hollywood house.
Yes.
The first thing is the most obvious one is one of the most popular songs on the record, Elva, in my opinion, was a song called Up All Night.
Right.
And I think the band always had this envision. We envisioned that Up All Night would be a follow-up single after Seeing Red, because Seeing Red was a successful song. It was #1 in the country for like 5 or 6 weeks on the alternative rock chart.
Absolutely.
Either 2003, or 2004. I can't even remember what year. Honestly, I don't know what year it was, but it was #1 for 5 weeks. So we figured, okay, we're going to follow that up with another single. And like the obvious choice we thought was going to be Up All Night. And then if you're familiar with that song, in the lyrics, it says, you know, let's smoke some cigarettes and hang on the back porch, fire up another roach. Like, yeah. That was all part of that house that we had rented. And we were all living in this like compound that we had built a studio in. But as soon as we practiced, the cops came and we realized we couldn't practice there, you know? So we had rented this house to like sort of get out of San Diego and write music in Hollywood. And it was just a shit show. It was like a party, you know? I had like the guy from Sugar Ray, the singer, sitting in my living room, you know, at like 4 a.m, and like whoever else, people would go out and accumulate and bring back to the house, you know, and nobody got any sleep. People were up all night, you know, and that the song Up All Night pertains mostly to that house. And then it even gives a shout out to like Genesee and Fountain. That was the cross streets of where the house was. So that was one thing about that album that pertained to the house. But also my frustration one day of us not getting anything done because we had been up there for like a couple months, and you know, everyone was tired. We were coming off like months and months of touring with the Black record continuously. Then we moved to LA with a very short rest to try to follow up the record, you know, and
yeah,
everyone was just burnt out, I think. But in anger one day, I wrote the riff for Blame It On Me. I turned my amp on. I was just like in my room. I was just like, you know, like driving, like this driving riff, you know. And
yeah.
Scott heard it and he was like, "What was that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then we just, you know, ended up building the song off that. But those are the two things I can remember song wise. Like Up All Night definitely was about the house, and then Blame It On Me came from the house also.
I love that you described like both of those stories, because for me, Up All Night is a total Poway song. Like when I think of like all of us growing, you know, like late high school, early, you know, just after graduating, like that type of thing. Same thing, just up writing songs, talking with friends, partying, things like that, and just certain imagery of the song. Yeah, always remind me of Poway. And then Blame It On Me, dude. That's such an angry riff.
It is so rad. It is
wicked.
Yeah, I was frustrated, and I had just met, you know, Nikki, my wife, like within a year earlier, and then I had to go on tour and then move up to LA, where I could have just been down in San Diego and probably achieved the same amount of stuff we ended up achieving at that house. But I mean, there was good things that happened with that house for me. Personally, Pat Kim had joined our band for the touring of the Black album, you know, I knew Pat from Sprung Monkey and everything, and we were friends before that. But I felt like I really got to know Pat on a different level when we all lived together in that house, because Pat and I lived upstairs near each other, and I was living in a loft for the first month and a half when we had that house, while they were trying to get rid of this other tenant downstairs, and then I had my own room for like the second half of the tenure. But it was frustrating to be there, you know, like people were, you know, we were all tired. The band had some notoriety after we got done traveling and touring for the Black record. You know, we're living in Hollywood, but we had met a lot of people. And so people were going out, and we were, like I said, we were doing a lot of partying instead of a lot of writing, you know, and we had a lot of friends coming up and hanging out and partying with us. And it wasn't real productive at that point, I remember. And so, yeah, that angry riff came from that frustration, I think.
It's great.
But you know, Scott wrote a lot of that album on acoustic also initially. So that was also the reason why I thought that record sounded a little bit different overall than some of our earlier stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of dudes sitting in there with electrics playing riffs, you know, Scott was writing stuff, you know, acoustic, you know, with chords and notes, and, you know, from acoustic, and then we were translating it to the heavier stuff after that, you know, so.
Well, yeah, or a tune like "Rest of My Life," where it's like you guys kept it simple, and you know, like
that's a good example of the acoustic, you know, stuff that.
Good song too, definitely. I always liked Geronimo. That was a tune that I always thought was just kick ass that you guys did. Awesome, and awesome live too. I just thought it was really good.
That's cool, because Scott and I wrote that riff, the beginning, you know, the little descending picking part.
That's great.
And then that song just kind of sort of went from there and just sort of developed into what it was. And then Scott, you know, wrote, you know, the melody, how he wanted to sing it and everything, you know, but I had already based the song started with that riff and then sort of just turned into this, you know, what it became, you know, which was cool.
Did you write any other of the, like, I know you wrote, you know, other riffs and stuff. Were there any specific parts of songs that you recall, you know, contributing on, or lyrics, or was that all Scott?
Yeah, I wasn't really a big lyric guy. I had written a little bit of lyrics in the earlier stuff, like the song Harmonic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wrote the "I want to know, does it show on my face?" You know,
nice.
That part. Like I had structured that song in this demo earlier. That, you know, but Scott would take stuff and he would take ideas from all these guys. You know, me, John Bell, Steve Morris, even Wade. You know, like, and he would consider those ideas and then assemble a song that how he wanted to sing to it.
Yeah.
So those things were always fluid, you know, with us, you know. That's probably the biggest change in the band that I hear now when I hear some of their new stuff. I think Scott's doing most of the writing. And it's not so much of a collaboration, but, you know, more of just, you know, Scott's interpretation of stuff. So, you know, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. We used to collaborate in the heyday of the band with a bunch of people's ideas, you know.
And bands have, you know, as far as chemistry, you know, I've loved bands that I'm like, oh, look, this member's gone or whatever. They sound tighter, this or that, or this record's good, but I like the chemistry of this particular lineup. And like for myself, yeah, that's my favorite lineup, is with you and PK and everybody. Like that's just the energy, and yeah, it's just rad. And like just see my homie on, you know, shake hands with Jay Leno or whatever on TV. It's just kind of, it's surreal, you know, to have those experiences. I'm sure for you even more, but even for your friends and people that you're adoring fans, sir. It's like, it's cool to see that type of thing, man. That's another thing we got to experience as homies, you know, of the band.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that we had so many fans that were out there that cared, you know. I mean, otherwise none of it would have mattered, dude. You know?
Like I said, I still meet people that talk about Unwritten Law, and like coworker, my shout out to my coworker Eric and former coworker Sarah. They're both huge fans. I know they're tuning in and stuff to the show. Shout out from me and Rob. But yeah, man, it's like it's timeless music. And not only this record, I wanted to focus on this one because I think it's really unique. And again, you know, this Hollywood and this was also during the same time frame you guys were in that flick too.
Yeah.
So we talked about that on the spin, so we don't have to. But
you know, it's funny.
We
were like living like right down the street, like in the house on Genesee and Fountain, you know, like so we were like in the Hollywood mix. So that was just like perfect timing. It was something we could do like while we were there almost. But that was like a thing that was set up by the management. But
yeah.
I'm glad we did it, you know. And I'm also just gonna say that I'm glad that the technology has allowed for like my kids to go back and look at some of the ridiculous videos and things that we did, you know. Like I never filmed or kept track or good record of any of that stuff, you know. Like when we were younger, you know, I'm playing music, Glenn, like there was no like social media, you know, or you know, it was all flyers and like we were playing this backyard party. Like I remember somebody just came on Facebook recently and was talking about the biggest party in Poway. It was like 5,000 people. It was up at the top of Hilldale Drive or whatever. Or what was it? What's the name of the
street? Yeah, it was.
It turned into the community goes up the hill there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That was my buddy Glenn's party, dude. Outrage played and like this and that. Like there was like 5,000 people there back in the day. Those were not advertised on social media or whatever. That was like word of mouth and like flyers.
Greg Abramson was the marketing expert back then, right? Yeah. Greg driving around in his van, party up on you know, whatever, you know, Cali Cuyina or whatever, you know, like party here or there. Shout out to Greg too, the Abramson brothers. But yeah, you know, it was Rob. It was all word of mouth and too, you know, even the music movement that we all came out of was DIY as well. You know, it's like I remember when you guys originally got signed, it was just like, what? You know, it was just like and it wasn't because the music was bad or anything, like it had nothing to do with that. And it was the joyous feeling, but it was just odd to like
that kind of stuff hadn't really happened in San Diego up until like recently, you know, like
yeah, I remember
like Drive Like Jehu and like Rocket from the Crypt. And then like Lucy's Fur Coat got a deal from someone. And I was like, I know these bands, like maybe they're starting to come down. Like people used to have to go up to LA to get those interests from labels, you know, and like all of a sudden, you know, with the action sports thing going on and like the emergence of like, you know, you had POD, Buck 09, us, Blink 182, all the Casbah bands. These bands were all getting in vans and driving to the next state over and like playing shows at these same clubs and these circuits, you know, and like, you know, pretty soon everybody took notice again, you know, and it was like a good time. I always think that our band, in particular, it was like the best time, you know, like timing wise.
You guys peaked at the perfect.
Plus the surf movies alone, you know, that like Taylor Steele did and stuff, that got us to an audience like anywhere there was like an ocean, you know, like people had seen like Taylor Steele's surf movies with these bands, you know, and they at least knew one or two songs. It's like, you know, it was cool. Good time.
Immensely, I think, you know, for your guys' exposure to. I remember being in like, I was in Best Buy one time, and it was that guy that does the voiceover for Best Buy. He's like, "This is Unwritten Law with Hit and Run," you know, and I'm just like, "Hit and Run? I haven't heard this tune," you know, which is, by the way, a kick-ass track from one of those surf movies or something, right? Or
I don't know what song that is.
It's a pretty cool track. Yeah, I don't know. Seek it out, Rob. You performed on it, but yeah, Hit and Run. It's not on.
Well, maybe that's the name of the movie. Maybe.
I don't know. It's weird. It was some Best Buy. Like I said, it's even got the guy's voice at the beginning of the track and stuff. It's really funny, but yeah, lots of great.
Well, somebody owes me 18 cents then. Okay.
Any stories about Evolution, that tune? Like, who's the crazy mofo shouting on that song?
Okay, so yeah, in about what was that? It was either 97 or 98. We did the Warp Tour, and it went to Europe. And this is great. We were on a bus, right? Called the Surprise Bus. It was a double decker, and it said "Surprise" on the side. It was out of like Sweden, I think. We had this Swedish dude named Thomas who was the driver, and there was 19 people on this bus. It was comprised of 3 bands. It was Unwritten Law, a band from England called Pitch Shifter, and a band from Northern California on Fat Records called No Use for a Name. So all of a sudden, next thing you know, for a month and a half, we're all on this bus, 19 of us. So we would gather in the front lounge, and it would be a smoke fest. Everybody would drink beers. You know, we'd already been to Amsterdam, so people were loaded up, stocked up with things, you know, and we'd go up there and hang out in the bus and the party in the top front lounge every night before we'd leave to go to the next place. And the Specials were one of the featured bands on the Warp Tour that year in Europe. So these guys from the Specials would like end up coming over to the bus and hanging out with us, you know, and like we got to know them. They'd hang out, and we did that whole European tour together. And then when we were in Los Angeles doing a portion of the recordings for something, I think they came through to play, and Scott called up one of the dudes, and he came in and did some voiceover stuff. So I want to say the guy's name's Nigel. I just don't remember, dude, honestly. Like, it's been so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they were great. They were really great guys, and they were legendary, you know. Message to you, Rudy, you know, and like we watched them that whole summer in Europe, and then they ended up coming over and coming in and hanging out around us for a couple of days while we were in the studio, and they came in and did that. So
awesome. Great track. Yeah, it's excellent story. Yeah, no, I mean, Rob, you're doing great. I mean, again, this is over 20 years ago. The Elva album just came out, end of January 20 years ago. So you're doing great, man. It's an excellent memory that you've got, my friend. Thanks for turning back the clock.
Yeah, I've been told that I can remember crazy stuff. I don't know why it is. We certainly did our best to kill as many brain cells as possible along the way. So, I mean,
there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the rock and roll lifestyle. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then okay, so the Miguel connection, that makes sense too about why Raleigh is on stars on the record as well. Raleigh from the notorious Sublime record, what Robin the Hood. There's those too long dialogue. You guys just use snippets, which is in some ways even a lot cooler. But yeah, Raleigh Theodore Sakers. I've got like a 40-minute rant with that guy. It was Greg Abramson was, of course, involved with bootlegging or whatever it was. But so and then what? The couple Australian dudes too on there as well. Is that what that other one is?
So Scott was like really into like sound bites of snippets of friends and like things, you know.
Gotcha.
I think he's the one that put the Tom DeLonge thing on there.
Yeah, at the very end.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I don't even know if that was authorized, honestly. You know, Tom doesn't speak to me, so for whatever reason.
Because Rob, you're so unapproachable and mean. Let's be honest. You're an ogre, my friend.
Well, I'm not going to get into it, but
I know. No, you don't have.
We go way back. There's no reason for him not to speak to me. But anyway,
friend, and yeah, no, I'm just curious about because those are kind of unique to the record as well.
Scott always liked the Sublime sound bites with Raleigh, and then when we started having Miguel do some of the studio stuff, like to touch up the record, I think we discovered that there was a lot more Raleigh than people really knew about.
Yeah,
like they just used a certain amount of it for the Sublime records. So Scott asked them if we could sample some of them, and Miguel was easy, obviously let him, and but that's how that happened.
Yeah, I always thought that
As
was
far as the Australian guys, I don't remember. Could
so.
be the guys from Grinspoon because we formed a friendship with them.
Yeah, it's
Or
the title is Nick and Phil is the
okay, yeah. So Nick and Phil, couple Aussie guys. Phil's the lead singer for a band called Grinspoon. Probably one of the best bands that you never heard, really. Out of Sydney, Australia. They're still headlining festivals and things, when they play over there to this day. Heavy rock band with several records, but just didn't have a lot of interest in traveling and touring, the world. So it's kind of like a little hidden gem, if you know about Grinspoon. Great music, really cool guys. Scott and Phil were really good friends when we were younger, and yeah, I forgot about that part too, actually. I haven't listened to this record in at least 15 years, so
No, that's I
maybe 10 years. 10 years.
I can dig it. I don't even watch old Sunday spins. Nothing. I'm good. I just move forward and keep doing what I do. So we do have a couple comments. Want to throw those in there, Rob, and then we'll give you a chance to do some shout outs and then any final recollections from the show. So yeah, we got Mr. James Reeder, and don't get me started on Limp Bizkit. Oh, James, we won't, my brother. James of the renowned Dewey Defeats Truman band, San Diego. And if you guys haven't already, vote for them. They're up for best rock album category. Our friend Scott Frazier too, that we went to school with. Rob, he's in the drummer in that band. So yeah, James, thanks for shouting out.
And is there a new? Those guys are still playing?
Yeah, they just reunited, and it feels so good. Last year, put out a great EP, The Way You Shatter, and they're back at it, man. They're killing it.
Great. Awesome.
And then yeah, my dad, great show interview, Rocksteady. Remember my dad,
Eddie?
Yep.
Thanks for the algebra, bro.
Yep. And so we got
that. I retained all of it.
I know. It's amazing. You're killing it, man. You're
such a good tutor.
You do much better than me. So yeah, some great comments from people. Thank you guys for tuning in. Any other kind of thoughts or anything, Rob, or shout outs about the record? Again, thanks for spending the time with me. Again, this is kind of a different format than we've done, breaking down, just one record. Any like guitar stuff that like you went out of your realm to like use something different, or remember anything like that?
No. I did go meet my wife and my sister in Long Beach for day 2 of the 3-day Cali Vibes Fest last weekend, and that was cool. Nice. 2 weeks ago.
Very cool.
Saw a great band from Hawaii called Common Kings. I don't know a lot about the reggae scene, the current one, but our boys here from San Diego, Ocean Beach, Slightly Stupid, have really come into their own and like are just killing it. Like they headline like day 2, so that was awesome to see that, because I remember those dudes when they were really young, and it's just great to see them, like come all this way. And other than that, man, no, just thanks for having me. And Glenn, you could ask me to do whatever almost, and I would probably do it within reason.
Well, I just think it's cool that we did something like this. You're the first show that we've done, so I want you to, hope you would consider that an honor. Definitely, Vinny and I.
So when you go on Spotify and people are trying to cancel you, I can say I did the first one.
That's exactly it, man. That's what I'm talking about. And then, yeah, I know like people are tuning in and stuff. Sorry, we couldn't get Gary on the show, everyone. Super bummed, but we'll work our best to make that happen in the future. Yeah, I think, man, we talked about most of the songs on the record and like great stories. One last one. Someone wanted me to ask on here how long you guys were in the house. Was it just a few months?
So yeah, we were there from like 3 months, maybe something like that. We had a trash pile. Nobody ever took the trash out. We would just dump it out this door onto this patio, and it became like this mound. And then I remember like the band had to pay like it was like $12,000 in damages to the property when we finally left,
Oh,
which
wow.
I'm not proud of at all. I look back at our behavior mostly and just think about what giant douches that we were and how out of control we were, living the punk rock lifestyle of our youth. I would never want that for anybody else or my children. So
Right.
like, it horrifies me to recollect some of it, you know. But yeah, there was like rodents living in that trash pile apparently that we had to get rid of, and like all kinds of crap, you know.
You guys, I mean, the trash was in the house?
No, it was on this patio. We would just open the door and throw shit out into this patio. And eventually, after 3 months, there was this mound.
That sounds like Cheech and Chong's next movie.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. It was nasty.
But you guys probably weren't smoking actual roaches, though. That's probably the difference. I don't think you guys were more health conscious than Tommy Chong. I would hope so.
Oh, sometimes the roast can be the best part, dude.
Oh man, Rob, I just want to say, dude, like time goes by. I want everyone to understand time goes by, but between you and I, it never does. When we first did the Sunday spin, like you and I were just sitting there laughing even before the show got on. And you're just a wonderful friend, and like I can't wait to hang out with you again this summer. Super excited. And yeah, man, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, man, you're
get a jam on, dude.
Yeah, dude, I'm bringing my drum set, so we're gonna bring my double kick. So we're gonna start a metal band. Everybody, look out!
Far up. I got a good name for a metal band. Ready?
Yes.
Blood Fart.
Oh, bro, that first album's already written. You know what I mean? Like
Blood Fart.
Yeah, it has to be written in that root, like you know how they write all the metal bands' names now, or you can't understand it. So there you go. But yeah, man, thank you guys so much. We've been hanging out with my friend, your friend, the beautiful, awesome, talented Rob Brewer. And yeah, I'm talking about his whole fam bam. And Rob, thanks too for showing you last time you showed us the paintings.
Oh yeah.
You have two of them.
Well, thanks for having me, dude. And anytime, brother. You know that.
Yeah, man. Thanks again. You guys will be back next week. Vinny's going to be back from his ballet lesson. So, oh, yeah, there you go. Cheers. Hey, yeah, let's do a cheers real quick. Cheers, my brother.
You too, brother.
Sunday spinoff, Rob Brewer, Elva. We'll be back next time, and we're going to probably talk about, I don't know, some funny shit that happened in Arizona when he was 3 years old. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks again. Peace out. Sunday spinoff.